Hello everyone, welcome back to another edition of the Velvet Lounge Life Outlander Season 5, Episode 10. This is I'm telling you, this is a crazy episode as far as the amount of action that goes on, as well as the fact that several people, two people die. One person is going to be afraid of the law. And let me think what else happens. Oh, an agreement is made, which is very interesting. And the title of this episode is Mercy Shall Follow Me. Also, I am going to spoil something for you right now. Normally, Jamie, as you know, has he has a few aliases that he uses because that guy is like a Cheshire cat. And one of his aliases is Alexander Malcolm. We always expected when he was to come up with this plan to meet Stephen Bonnet that it would be him as Alexander Malcolm that Stephen Bonnet would be meeting. But no, the person going under that alias in disguise is going to be Ian. How cool is that? I thought that was like a way of saying, look, you've arrived, you've grown up. You may be little Ian, but not because of your lack of manliness. So I thought that was a cool thing. I'm going to give you another spoiler right now as well. And this has to do with episode 11, not this particular episode. That episode will be titled Journeycake, and Journeycake is a clue. Back in the day, they would create this edible when you were going on long voyages that you would take with you. So, clues, people. The other thing is Ulysses is going to need protecting of the highest of high. Also, there's going to be an attack at Fraser's Ridge and a stabbing. How fatal will it be? Will it be fatal? What do you think? Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are on that. And yeah, there's a lot of things that are coming up. One of the most remarkable things is we only have 3 episodes left this season. Can you believe how quickly this went? It's insane. So do me a favor right now, please, and hit that subscribe button right there. Did you hit it? It's this fast. Tap. Also, hit the yes. What do you see? The thumbs up button. Tap that quickly. And there's also a bell notification. If you hit that, then what will happen is you will be the first to know of anything new going on with the channel, which is great, especially when we are doing our 100% free participation gift giveaways. And we are going to get to our goal of what we're doing is when we hit 2,225 subscribers, we're going to have a royal gift giveaway. It's going to be like Christmas for you guys. And also we decided as an extra, when we hit 1,000, we're going to also give some things away as well. And remember, we pay the postage. So the only thing you need to do to participate is subscribe to the channel, watch the videos, comment. Every time you comment, that is an entry into the drawings. Now, I see a lot of the same people commenting, which is great. We love it. You're fabulous. You have lots of entries, but let's get some new people in there too. So without further ado, let's go. So one of the things that Claire and Bree do, because in Wilmington right now, the town is full of some key people. We have Stephen Bonnet, we have the evil lawyer Forbes. Obviously, you can see Bree, Claire, but we also have Ian, Roger, Jamie, who are also in town because they are coming up with their final plans to do away with Stephen Bonnet. So yes, people, this is so different than what is in the books. Put the books away because you're going to be like, wow, they really rewrote that story. And they did. So Bree and Claire and this picture, what they're doing is they gave a drawing to this guy who is a glazier. He creates glass products and they want him to create a vial. Now, one of the questions I had, why only create one glass vial? Why not create like 6? I thought that made no sense whatsoever. So writers, rewrite that part. But he is to create a vial that will go along with the instructions they gave the metal worker, who is going to help them concoct or create a new syringe. So this guy says that he's heard of syringes before, but Claire uses 1 or 2 words he's never heard of before, such as sterilization. We take these words for granted now. And he kind of like turns a weird eye at her, and then she tries to like cover her words. I wonder if that's going to come back to haunt them, because it just seemed as if this part of the story was so purposeful, and I don't know what other value it could have other than a future storyline. In the meanwhile, we have Stephen Bonnet, who is meeting with Mr. Evil, Greedy, Jealous, Jaded Forbes. So the reason that this lawyer, who is actually Jocasta's lawyer, but he's also Stephen Bonnet's lawyer, is so bent on getting revenge against the Fraser family and Mackenzie family, is because he was jilted by Bree and by Jocasta. And all of this time, this is part of his half-baked plan on revenge, is we're giving this information to Stephen Bonnet so that Stephen can end up with Jemmy. So, and in this case, he also wants Bree, but I will tell you, eventually Bree is not part of his plans. So this guy is happy to help these two with their plan to create this glass for the syringe, or so he seems. And in the meantime, we have Bree, Jamie, and Claire, who are just working out the details of their plan to trap Bonnet. And what'll happen, though, is Claire and Bree will not be there. This is all going to be on Roger, Ian, and Jamie to finish the deed, if you will. So what happens is the ladies decide to have a day at the beach, because it should be a day of celebrations if Bonnet is taken down to the ground. And so, you know, they talk about many things, and one of the things I do like about the Outlander television series is they do talk about conservation. They sort of sneak it in there, if you ever noticed, like they did this season already with the buffalo. They actually do that in this episode with whales, and talk about the extinction of them and how it's amazing that right now in the 1700s they're so plentiful, but in their true era, obviously they will be practically extinct. So Claire and Jamie are going to have to meet with someone special, sort of, that will help them tidy up the plan they have to get Bonnet. But this is the look on Claire and Bree's face when they see the whales. It's one of total bliss. But while they are doing their thing, what happens? Bree sees what I will call a ghost. And there you go. Stephen Bonnet has followed them to the beach. He actually saw them in town. They did not know that. And now he has a knife to Claire's throat, and he's threatening to do her harm if Bree does not come with him. He tells Bree, all I want is you and Jemmy. And Bree is like, not if I can help it, and she breaks out the Widowmaker. Unfortunately for her, things go badly. So what ends up happening is her mother is knocked out by Stephen Bonnet. Bree charges him as if she can really take him. Like, come on, really? And he takes her pretty easily, knocks her out, and brings her back to his mansion on his private island. Yes, financially, Stephen Bonnet has moved way up in the world. One of the things I thought was creepy but cool because of the imagination of the writers, is how he posed her on this couch when he laid her down. So Stephen Bonnet, you know, now she's up and she's like, you know, where am I? Where's my mother? He does reassure her her mother is fine. He has no quarrels with her, as he says. And she's like, God, how am I going to get out of this? And she knows the only way out of it is to play along and look for a weak spot. And one of the things that Stephen Bonnet once again states is that, of course, he wants to be a family. And he tells her, you know, I have some gifts for you. And so he breaks out this box, a really nice box actually, and it's full of different beautiful things from his travels. And the box is beautifully organized. You could tell there's tons of thought that was put into it. And Bree is like, whoa, this guy really thinks we're going to be a family. Oh my goodness, how am I going to get out of this? And she does end up like just having this look on her face of pure, I just don't know what to do at this point. And he gives her a gift, or gifts actually, several as well. One being this beautiful brocade and silk dress, and of course the beautiful gold pendant around her neck. And she's feeling incredibly trapped. In the meantime, at Wiley's landing, we have Ian, Roger, and Jamie who have, you know, gotten there. They're getting ready to set up so that they can hopefully take this guy once and for all and basically end his life. One of the things that Roger tells Jamie is that he wants to be the one to take out Stephen Bonnet. If you remember in the previous episode, he was like, I can't do it, but I want to be there when you do it. Now he's the one who actually wants to take him out. And Jamie tells him, well, if you go down or whatever, I will pick it up, you know, from where you left off and I'll finish the job. And the funny thing is Roger is like, kind of saying, well, if I recover from that and I see that you go down, then I'll finish the job. So they're very chummy. I think they've come to an understanding finally, or at least Jamie has, that Roger is not, like, he is tougher than he thinks. And so this is Alexander Malcolm, okay, it's Ian, in disguise, and he's giving them the signal that these guys are arriving. They think that it's Stephen Bonnet, but it's not. It's three of his cronies in his place, because Stephen Bonnet always has a plan Z. And so, of course, he's not going to meet them first, and that means that this plan does not work. But meanwhile, back at Stephen Bonnet's mansion, Bree has sort of gotten in his head a little bit. You know, she's kind of, you know, one of the things that he wants to do is he wants to be a gentleman. And he says, you know, this is how I want my son to grow up. He wants him to be respected, etc. Because he knows he isn't. And he also knows he's definitely not a gentleman. He tells her it's one of the few things that he couldn't buy. And so even every little tiny thing from, you know, how to dress to how to hold a fork or how to pass a platter, like, he needs to learn everything. And she sort of starts to teach him. After dinner, he's looking for entertainment, and she goes, whoa, a gentleman would never be alone with a lady. Then he says something like, oh, I can have some of my guys come in. And she goes, you know, she's like, whoa, oh my God. And she's like, no, thank you, but I'll read to you. So she decides, because she knows he cannot read, so she picks up this book on husbandry, which, you know, is just something the writers threw in there in a creative way, which I also loved. And husbandry has to do with, I believe, the mating of animals. And so she pretends that that book is Moby Dick, which I also thought was ironically, hilariously funny. And so she's reading, okay, for the title as well as the actual story, people, get your minds out of the gutter. But she starts to pretend to read the story. And as you know, the captain of Moby Dick dies at the end because a whale is a hero and gets its freedom back. It's not being hunted, to death, which, is what the captain wanted to do, simply because Moby Dick was defending itself. And that's how that captain lost his leg. And so she tells him the story, and he's intrigued because he's like, oh my God, my son likes stories about the sea and the ocean and sailing and animals, and that's awesome, and the sun shines, and everything's going to be great, and we're going to get married, and we might have more babies. Okay, he doesn't say that, but that's what this look on his face equates to, until she tells him what happens to the captain in Moby Dick. Then he is sort of freaking out. Suddenly, he goes from one personality to another, and he tells her, no, the ocean, it's always been calling me. It's always wanting to swallow me up. It's so dark. It's, always wanting to take things. And he tells her about the fact that he was an orphan. He had no mother, no father ever. He was never even adopted. And how when he worked with these guys in this, building a foundation or something, how they tried to trick him, get him drunk, and bury him in the foundation. And basically that's when his evil side turned to his permanent side, and he never really looked back. And, all he wants to do is be a family with, a borrowed couple of people, aka Jemmy and Bree. And so he thinks that he's really in for the sin. And so he actually gets to a point where he tells Bree that she can go and bring Jemmy to him. And the three of them will plan a life. They can live on this island. They can live in the city, wherever she wants in the world, basically. And she's like, oh, okay, that will be great. We'll do that. And then he says, without her ever understanding why he would say this, let's seal it with a kiss. So this is Bree and Stephen Bonnet kissing. You can tell that Bree is not into this kiss. And as Stephen Bonnet said, one of the things you don't have to teach me is what a real kiss is. And he is real pissed. Notice how that rhymes sort of with kiss. And so he knows that she's faking him out this entire time. He said, I let you get into my head. And he is really, really mad. He's his old self. So over at River Run, Jocasta has invited this lawyer Forbes, which is her lawyer, but she doesn't know he's also Stephen Bonnet's lawyer, and that this guy is being vengeful simply because Jocasta did not want to marry him, and of course Bree never wanted to marry him. And so she has no idea that he has these ill feelings and that he's dealing with a nemesis. So she's like, I would like to make some additions to my will. I want, myself and Duncan, we want for nothing. We can't take any of this with us. So we want to make sure that those that we love and care about are well taken care of when we're gone. And so he's like, oh, okay. But the funny thing is, while he's sitting there pretending to go along with this, he's looking around as if he's taking inventory of everything in the room, as if it belongs to him. And Jocasta is in total bliss because she's enjoying dividing out her money and her land and her belongings, and Duncan Ennis's as well. Duncan gave her total permission to do whatever she wants. And she's just enjoying going down the list of people and giving away everything. Now, one of the things I did not like is I noticed that Phaedra, Ulysses, and the other people that they've enslaved, they were not mentioned in her will. Now, maybe they just didn't show that part of the story yet, But I did not like that. But the fact that she gave money to Lizzie, who is employed by the Frasers, I thought that was sweet. And this guy is like, what? You're giving money to the help to Lizzie? Are you kidding me? And he's like, okay, I guess you're just being very generous. And then it gets to a point where he just becomes enraged as her list goes on. And as a matter of fact, her list doesn't just go on as far as giveaways go. She actually is like, you know what? Let's add another X amount of dollars just for good luck. And instead of giving this person that amount, you know what? Let's double. So she's like doubling up and everything, and it's getting him angrier and angrier. And he says, you can't give away all of my money. You can't do that. And she's like, what? Your money? That's that look on her face when she says that. Yes, people, it gets to a point where this greedy, weird, jealous little troll tries to smother out Jocasta. Luckily, as you can see, the table is sort of tilted. You can see her walking stick there. And because of that, the bell falls over, and Ulysses comes to the rescue. He comes to the rescue, and he ends up choking this guy out until he was dead. You can actually hear his bones like make this cracking noise, so you know he's dead. And the reason that I mention how dead he is, he's super dead, people. He will not come back as a resurrection of any type, is because there's a rumor out there on the internet that, you know, oh my God, do you think he's really dead? Yes, I think he's really dead. Unless his back is just broken. Okay, I just added to the conspiracy. And Ulysses is like, you know, trying to get Jocasta to come around. He actually thinks she's dead. And when he thinks she's dead, he says her name. Why? Because as an enslaved person, you obviously were not allowed to call these people like by their first name. And he's like, Jocasta. And when he does that, she grabs his hand tight. He holds her hand. He kisses her hand. She comes to, and his face is the first that she sees. But Bree is still in huge trouble on this island because, as I said, Stephen Bonnet now is basically through with her. After he realizes she's just playing him, trying to get away, he takes her by the neck. You can actually see his hand here a little bit. And he's through. He tells her, I don't even need you. I never needed you to get Jimmy. Now I just want my son. And basically you're worthless to me. And as a matter of fact, let me show you what you've been missing. And yes, people, I should have warned you. Close your eyes. Click to the next picture. Stephen Bonnet, right in front of her, takes the prostitute help that's working in his house. And the noises and the sounds he's making as he is doing what he's doing. And she's not negative about it, this person. She's kind of into it because she's there just to get money. And she even offered to add Bree into the mix for a few pennies more, literally pennies. And later on, when Claire has to try to talk to the prostitutes at the brothel to try to figure out where Stephen Bonnet was located, because now this woman finished her work with Stephen Bonnet. She's back on the mainland at the brothel. And Claire goes around talking to each one of the ladies, seeing if, you know, she can help them a little bit. And if that would be enough for them to open up and give her information. She actually gets to Stephen Bonnet's favorite prostitute. And she noticed that she's in incredible pain and she's walking weird. And she's like, you know, I noticed that you're in pain. It's your hip. And she tells her what the medical term is for her hip displacement or whatever it's called. And she notices that the woman has one leg that's longer than the other, which is why she's in all this pain. And she tells her that all she needs is a lift in her shoe. And she measures out how tall the lift needs to be, and that would relieve her pain. And when she put a deck of cards under the lady's shoe, she believed her because her pain instantly was more relieved. So she ends up telling Claire exactly where Stephen Bonnet is located on his secret island. But back at the island, we have another dilemma. You can barely see it, and this is as good as the picture gets, but this is Bree's head right here. Actually, I might be able to tilt this down just a little bit more. And why is Bree in this position? Because Stephen Bonnet has invited one of his rogue, bastardly friends, this big greasy fellow, into the quote-unquote party, which is not a party. Why? Because one of the things that Stephen Bonnet deals in is selling women. Any woman, any color, any size, any age. And so he has made a deal to sell Bree for £6 to this jerk. And his ship is waiting offshore to take her away. Before this guy pays for the goods, as he called her a mare, aka a horse, he wants to check the filly's teeth, aka female horse. So her teeth are checked, her legs, her buttocks, etc. And he's like, oh, she is a fine specimen. And she does bite his finger, and he hits her, and he talks about how he likes breaking. Basically, you know, he's treating her like she's a horse. So he wants to break that spirit. But one of the things that happens is the Fraser clan end up making it to the island. When they make it to the island, they basically have their own little ambush going on. And Stephen Bonnet does not know they're there. So he and that crooked guy are dragging Bree down the beach to get her onto his ship, and she'll be gone wherever. And when they get there, they don't know that the Fraser and Mackenzie clan and Murray clan are there waiting for him. And Roger ends up knocking him out cold. Bree is reunited with her family, thankfully. Is she scarred? Probably a little bit, but she's safe. And actually, I'll go back that other picture, and you see Stephen Bonnet completely knocked out. Roger Mackenzie did that, people. And they're standing over his body and deciding basically what to do. And it's kind of up to Bree. And Bree decides that what she wants is she wants him to stand trial, which is kind of risky back then, but one of the things that Jamie says is, yeah, you know what? There should be no problem with him standing trial because Governor Tryon, the tyrant, owes me lots of favors after what he did to Roger. So they end up contacting him, and what happens to Stephen Bonnet is he gets the death penalty by drowning. So he's tied to this post with his arms above his head. The waist of his body and below are in water, and when the tide comes in, he will drown to death. And here he is, knowing that his fate is pretty much sewn up permanently. And if you recall, when I started this episode, his fear of the darkness of the water and how it takes everything, these are the thoughts going through his mind. And so he screams out like a coward. But he thinks there's hope on the horizon. Or is it hope? No, it's a hole in his head. Who actually widow makes this guy second, probably like 2-3 minutes before the tide comes in? Bree does. Bree actually shoots him in the head. So the last vision he has is of Bree and Roger standing on that beach looking at him like he's a piece of trash that he always was, unfortunately. So that is the end of this episode, people. It was so exciting. Just remember to subscribe to the channel. Remember that your health is your wealth, and without your health, you have nothing. So please take care of yourselves and hit that thumbs up. And remember, next week is going to be super exciting too.